Welcome to the Branding PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Branding PR Podcast. I'm your host, Brandi Sims, PR Pro, brand strategist, and your go-to for all things communications. Today, I'm thrilled to be in conversation with someone I've admired for both her innovation and her advocacy. Dr. Charmain Jackman is not only a licensed psychologist and TEDx speaker, but she's also a trailblazing entrepreneur and the founder of InnoPsych, a mental health tech company revolutionizing access to therapists of color. She's fresh off the release of her powerful new book, The Black Therapist's Guide to Private Practice and Entrepreneurship. And I promise, you're going to walk away from this episode feeling inspired, equipped, and ready to show up authentically in your own brand. We're talking brand building, PR wins, recent mental health campaigns, and the power of having a VOICE in your business. Let's dive in. Welcome in, Dr. Charmain Jackman.
Good. Hello. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. Really excited to be here, Brandi. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so happy that we had an opportunity to sit down and chat all things your career and all things branding and entrepreneurship. So let's get right into it. So let's start really from the beginning. Your transition from school psychologist to full-time entrepreneur is just so inspiring. What sparked that pivot during the pandemic, and how did branding play a role?
Absolutely. So, I started InnoPsych probably about 2 years before the pandemic. It was an idea that I was working on. I had come to a point in my career where I knew that I needed to transition out of school mental health, but I was really nervous about it. Those golden handcuffs, Brandi, you probably know a little bit about that, right? It
Yep.
was like the health
Yep.
insurance, the salary, the vacations, the paid vacations.
Yep.
It was really hard to give that up. But the call to really step into my own brand and my own company was so strong. And it really started probably about 10 years ago. I started teaching therapists how to create and how to master their own personal brands. And so that had started a journey of something I did every year, brought in a cohort. And there was came to a point where I actually felt like a fraud because I was telling people, this is how you do it. This is how you set up your business. But I wasn't fully living what I was teaching. And so it really came to a point where I also felt more confident to do that. I had my money saved away, I had my coins saved away, which I knew would make the transition easier. And then I finally was like, I think the pandemic also helped me make the push. It was really the push I needed. And so I can guess people were like, the pandemic made you do that? I'm like, yes, it did.
Yes. Well, it's one of those things that in all of the chaos that was the pandemic, there was a silver lining and there was some opportunity that you were able to capture and really just set the trajectory of this. So something good came of it, right? I think that's the
Absolutely.
biggest takeaway. So you
Absolutely.
created the Branding Your Voice framework. Can
Yes.
you break down just what that stands for and how it helps therapists and really any entrepreneur articulate their brand?
Absolutely. So I would say I have to give props to a woman called Susan Hodgkinson. I got introduced to her 5 Ps of personal branding over 10, 15 years ago now at this point. And when I got exposed to that, it was like the light bulbs went off. I was like, oh my goodness. She really went into her 5 Ps. And I think the two that really stuck out for me was one about permission, really about owning your voice and not waiting for other people to allow you to step into that. And the
Yes.
other one was promotion. And I think as a therapist, as a woman of color, as an immigrant, I had been operating in the workplace, really kind of expecting people to just know what I do and to like give me the promotion and to give me the all the things. And it was only then that I realized I was doing a lot of labor, extra labor, but not getting recognition for it. And I realized that I wasn't telling people what I was doing. People didn't know what I was doing because naturally I'm kind of a laid back, kind of soft spoken person. And that just really flipped the script for me. So I'm like, all therapists need to have this information. So that's kind of how I started. And I wanted to create my own version of that.
Mhm.
And so voice, VOICE stands for vision, our offerings, our image, our clients or consumers, and then how you express that. And so that is a blueprint that I've created and it's been successful in helping therapists really own their voice, own their brands, and really get out there and create. I would say the other piece is about creating niche products that make them stand out above the crowd.
Mm. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And I like the fact that you started with, give yourself permission, right?
Mhm,
Because I
mhm,
definitely think within the consultancy space, more specifically, we've kind of come out of the shadows in
mhm,
many ways over the last couple of years with the explosion of social media and personal branding and all of these different things. Kind of come out of the darkness and really put ourselves out there. And I know of colleagues as well as I've had struggles with it and being comfortable with I'm not just the publicist for this person, but I actually have to be promoting myself and what I do as well. But I need to give
absolutely.
myself permission to do that and not feel
Mhm.
like, oh, no, 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 you shouldn't be doing this. It's like, no, but you need to. In
Yeah.
this digital media world, we all need to. If we're entrepreneurs, which most of us are,
Right.
especially from you're consulting, you absolutely need to. So I love that you started with give yourself permission.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, many of us, particularly I find for therapists, we like to be in our offices, behind the scenes. We don't like a lot of attention and
Mm,
eyes on us. And so it's really about, but people aren't going to know the wonderful work you're doing if you don't tell them about it.
exactly. Exactly. So your book is the first of its kind by a Black therapist for Black therapists.
Yes.
What gap were you hoping to fill and how has the response of this been so far?
Excellent. Yeah. So I really was really called to put this content into a book because it's a book I wish that I had when I was growing up and coming through grad school. I knew before I started grad school, like actually as a teenager, I knew I wanted to become a psychologist and I wanted to have my own business. Those were two things that were very clear when I was about 14, 15.
Mhm.
And, I left my small island of Barbados to come to the US to study psychology because it wasn't offered in the Caribbean. And the process of, however, of going through graduate school really, really extinguished, should say, my desire to own a business. I really recall coming out of grad school and saying, I don't think I want to own a business. It's too hard. It's too like all the things.
Mhm.
And what I realized is that the process of graduate school had really prepared me to be an excellent clinician, but to be an awful business person. There were zero classes about business, zero classes about how to, you know, turn your expertise
Yes.
into something that can pay. You know,
Mhm.
most of my internships were unpaid, right? So this devaluing of our services. And so I knew like once I overcome that fear,
Mhm.
that lack of knowledge, it was like, this is much easier than I had made it out to be. And I really wanted other therapists to have that experience and to think about how to really position themselves to do good, take care of themselves, because a lot of us end up in positions where we're not seeing doing the work we want to do. We get burnt out, and many people then leave the field. So this I see as a way for us to continue to build a diverse workforce and to really give therapists and other entrepreneurs as well. I think the book applies to a broad cross section of people, but really to give people the confidence, the tools, and the roadmap to go out there and put their wildest entrepreneurial dreams into action.
Oh, yes, that's beautiful. And I love that you had a very clear idea in mind in creating this. And it was based on the very struggles that you had early on. What were the things that I struggle with or I was challenged with, and how can I package this in a way so it helps the next person down the line? That is
Absolutely.
one way to pave the way and be that shoulder, right, for the next
Yeah,
one to
absolutely.
jump on top of. I love that. All
Absolutely.
right. So let's switch it up. I want to talk PR power behind mental
Mhm.
health advocacy. So you've secured coverage in outlets like NPR, Essence, and the New York Times. What would you say has been the most pivotal moment in your PR journey so far?
I think that, one of the things is, I come from a psychology background, right?
Yes.
And that, again, as I mentioned before, as therapists, we stay in our offices. Right? We're not trying to be out there in the media. And I recall having one of the news outlets reach out to me and say, "Can you come and do this talk? We're having this video TV show, and would you come on and be a guest?" And I was terrified. I had never done it, but I had always dreamed of doing it, right? And so once I stepped into that and got all of the nerves out of it, it was like, I want to do more.
Mhm.
So I would say I have been able to kind of do a lot of my own media outlet. I think part of, I would say, like being authentic, like just doing my work, but also taking up opportunities. Networking has been really powerful. I think I've had I've, you know, been interviewed for the New York Times. We've had a feature on NPR. I've gotten interviewed by journalists for Oprah Daily, right? So
Mm.
these are just things I would have never imagined or dreamed.
Yeah.
And those are all wonderful. I would say the game changer has been Quoted, the platform that we've kind of connected on. That's made it
Yes.
really easy to get my voice out there, whether in print or in camera or interviews. So I really try to get other therapists to do it. Many of them were shy to do it, but we've offered media trainings for people. But having those really top notch interviews have been wonderful. Particularly, I've had some support, but a lot of those have come out of my own work, my own kind of hitting the ground running.
Well, hey, it's like they say, when once you get the Oprah stamp, I think that's when things are legitimized. And for our listeners, definitely Quoted is one of our favorite tools that we use as an agency in branding PR to be able to connect with guests, but also to find opportunities for clients. So it's an incredible, incredible tool if you're looking for media opportunities, things that journalists are sharing. So definitely love that you plug that. And I'll just say on our website, we do have it under our resources. If you
Mhm.
want a discount to get started on Quoted, we do have something there. So definitely check out our resources page on brandingpr.com to get connected and learn more about the amazing platform that is Quoted. All
Nice.
right. So you've built partnerships with organizations like Ad Council and Charlemagne the God's Mental Wealth Alliance. Can you share how those partnerships came about and the role storytelling really played in it?
Yeah, so I would say I'll start with Charlemagne the God's Mental Wealth Alliance, excuse me. Again, that was through partnership building. I think a big piece, and you probably find this too, Brandy, is like those partnerships are so crucial. And sometimes it doesn't seem like things are going to go, but you never know like where things end up. And so I have a colleague, Dr. Alfie, who's done a lot of work with him. She saw what I was doing, the work that I was doing, and again, the authenticity and the care that I bring to the mental health field. I really care about what we are putting out there. It has to be evidence based. It has to be accurate.
Mm.
Trendy is helpful, but I
Yeah.
also want to make sure that it is great and it's giving people actual tools. So she saw the work that I was doing. She reached out. I think we actually reached out to her first. And then that really started a beautiful connection. So that's been ongoing with the ad council. That came actually after working with Dr. Alfie. She made an introduction to the ad council, and that's been going on for at least 3 or 4 years now. So a lot of the media spots that I do comes through them. I'm one of their subject matter experts for their adolescent and adolescent and parent pillar.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I certainly follow a lot of the interviews and just the movement Charlemagne the God has really focused around mental health, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite campaigns to watch. And then, of course, the Ad Council has some phenomenal campaigns too to
Mhm.
share and helpful insight and resources as well as just general information to help folks get connected. So I do want to stay on Ad Council because
Yeah.
one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about and just get your feedback on and insight on is just kind of the recent campaign pushback that they received around mental health stigma in BIPOC communities. What's your take on how brands should navigate cultural nuance in mental health campaigns?
Yeah, I think that is a really important one, and one that, InnoPsych, our organization was founded on disrupting racial inequities in mental health. And so I think that, I see, I've been in the field for a long time. And I think I see companies who do this work and they don't sometimes make those distinctions. They don't recognize that it looks different for people of color. It looks different for Black folks. It looks different for Latinx
Mhm.
folks. And so they often kind of, some of our stories are invisible. I think that the Ed Council has done a great job in trying to lift up stories from different communities. As I mentioned, I've done a lot of work with them over the last 3 or 4 years around adolescent mental health. I do give them feedback around, I also want to make sure that our stories are representative of a diverse range of young people. I know they've done their adult mental health piece. They've used gospel music, and I think it's called, I forgot the name of it, the Sweet Something. There's like a
Mhm.
gospel fest. So I know they've made efforts. I think organizations sometimes get caught up, in some of the backlash around, not being responsive. Sometimes
Mhm.
people don't see the work that's happening behind the scenes as well. So it can get tricky. But I think I always tell organizations it's like it has to be more than the visuals, right? It really has to be deeply rooted and come from that place. And
Mhm.
also making sure that your teams are diverse, that your leadership is diverse, because those often are where people look to do work with diverse communities, but their staff, their leadership doesn't represent the people that they're trying to work with. And I
Mhm.
have an issue with that for sure.
Absolutely. I think we all do, because we've all seen those campaigns where it was completely tone deaf and it just did not hit the mark. But this is why it's important. And I'm so glad that you spoke on this and given your insight. This is why consultants are important.
Mhm.
Consult out. If you need somebody that is um, within a certain marginalized
Right.
community or part of a community, it doesn't even necessarily have to be marginalized, but someone that is an expert within this space that can give you that information, do it. It's
Yeah.
worth much more in my purview to go ahead and be proactive as you're building out these campaigns, to have somebody on site that can give that information and give that guidance that you need, as
Yeah.
opposed to having to do the heavy lift of now we have backlash and we're
Yes.
dealing with a crisis comm situation, which is not fun. And they charge way more. Okay. Because they're doing double the work, right? So, it's much easier to get that consultant on board right out the gate.
Yeah. And I'd say, and then listen to your consultant. And I
Oh,
think too, like,
please, please listen to the consultant. Dr. Jackman, we need to do a PSA on that, ma'am. When I tell you, people will hire consultants and then don't listen to none of the advice and insight that they
right,
give. And I'm like, why would you bring them in?
right,
Why? You wasting
right.
their time, your time, team's time. Please
Yeah.
listen to your consultants.
To the consultant. And I'd say to vet people, because I definitely see a lot of people out there who are portraying to be things that they're not. So
Yes.
definitely do your vetting, really do your research, make sure this is someone who is embedded in the community.
Yes.
Um, and then, like you said, that hit a mark for you, right? Listen.
'Cause I swear we were just talking about this in another episode, but also just kind of behind the scenes with other colleagues. And it's just, I hear stories all the time of, man, let me tell you, Brandy, what happened. I'm like, okay, let me tell me what happened. And all of it comes down to, we put this plan together. We told them to do this. And then they said, oh, okay. well, we're going to do this because we feel like it's just more in line, and then it fails. And then they're coming back and they're like, okay, so we want to go ahead and go with your plan. You already put it out. Now we got to do something completely different. And since it's double the work, we got to renegotiate.
Double-
It costs to not listen to your consultant. It
Absolutely.
costs.
Absolutely.
It's insane. It's insane. So that's too funny. But it is something that does happen. Please just listen to your consultants, listeners, today and always. All
Yes.
right. So we've seen more public figures that are speaking out on mental health. I mean, Charlemagne the God, you work very closely with him on his alliance and in his outreach. And some have been very authentically so, and you can tell and you can feel it, right? But others less so. As somebody who is both an expert and a brand, how do you balance staying mission driven while also protecting your own platform?
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I love some of the stories. And it's also really tricky who we choose to. We're very mindful about who we choose to center. I think the celebrity stories are great. I think Naomi Osaka has been great. Simone Biles has been great. Taraji why am I blanking on her name?
Taraji P. Henson.
Taraji
No, I
Henson.
got you.
Yeah, it's into the P.
It
Right.
was the P.
They've done great. They've, really mapped out their platform. They've built also out initiatives around that. I think there are also others. And so, it's always tricky for us. Early on, we had initially started to align with the brands, and then it came out that that was actually not, there were things that just evolved as we did more research that was actually not aligned. And so, as a company, again, I mentioned to you, like, a value of us is that we're providing high quality, accurate information. And so we want to make sure that we're aligning with brands that also fit with that message and fit with our values. And so it's really important to do your research as you're looking to partner. I think for us, um, it's been really important for us to stay on mission and on brand. I have a team. We're not a huge team, but sometimes I'm kind of I'm over 50, so sometimes I'm not as tuned into some of the like popular media. So I have some younger folks on our team, and so we're always thinking about, is this a story that we want to report on? Is this a story that we want to align ourselves with? And also feeling like we don't have to jump to everything that comes out, right? One that requires a lot of energy. But then I'm always like, well, let's wait to see how that story unfolds, because sometimes there are nuances that we don't know. And so I think for us, that which has allowed us to, again, stay top of mind for folks, but also, particularly as a brand that is reputable, is not jumping at every story that comes out. Being really thoughtful to assess, is this aligned with our message and our values? Will this continue to elevate what we're doing? Or is this kind of just responding to respond?
Mm, mm. So it sounds like you have a solid team here that is helping you to navigate all of these areas where you're still protecting your platform, but finding that balance. I think having a team is such an impactful piece of this, because a lot of entrepreneurs, and I get it in the beginning, you're doing a lot of work. You're doing all the things until you kind of build your platform. But once you get into that space and kind of get some good traction, that's the perfect time to start outsourcing and getting that support that you need so that it stays in line with your mission and your goals, but it also helps to protect that platform that you love and you've built and created from this point.
And
Absolutely.
I think, to your point too, as we were mentioning earlier, it can be so easy for one thing to destroy your brand and your reputation. So you have to be really thoughtful about the stories you're reporting on, the partnerships you're building, um, and also how you're presenting to your audience. So it really takes a lot of care and attention. And I really help people, think about that, and again, not get caught up in like
Yes.
what's trendy, because that can sometimes be not great for your brand.
100%. All right, so let's talk about your legacy. What
Mhm.
advice would you give to a therapist or wellness entrepreneur who's hesitant about showing up publicly or just simply branding themselves?
Mhm. I say you have to do it. You have to get out there. Your clients, you have so much to give. You have so much expertise that you've gained from school, but your own lived experience that makes you uniquely you. We were talking about that earlier, and you just have to kind of work through those nerves that about getting in front of the camera, getting your brand out there. But it really helps to for people to know what you do. It allows you to expand your expertise and your reach. And if your clients don't know you're out there, then you can't grow. Your business can't grow. And so you do need to really own and actually value this media part of it because it is important.
It surely is. What role does community and legacy play in the way that you approach entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
media?
I love it. So, my company is a social impact company, and really our goal is to bring the messages and to shift mindsets around mental health. So that was baked into our mission, to our vision from early on. And we continue to do that. I think our community drives us. I love when I go out into the community and someone says, I found my therapist on your website,
Mhm.
or I was in a session with you and really love what you had to give. I'm practicing that mindfulness skill that you taught me, right? Those are like, that's the reason that we created this website. And so on this platform. And so that is really like, brings me lots of joy and that keeps me going.
Yes.
The other piece is my kids. I have two teenagers
Mhm.
who I want them to, I don't know, they will carry on this business, but I want them to carry on the legacy of entrepreneurship. I come from a mom and a grandma and aunts and uncles who are entrepreneurs. I think it's in our blood, and I think it can give you so much more independence and freedom for your career and your life. And so I hope that they will carry on this entrepreneurship legacy as well.
That is amazing, amazing. Let's hope so. But I mean, with the bar that you've set, I could definitely see them saying, "Okay, let's go. I'll
Right.
make a challenge. Let's go for it." All right.
Absolutely.
So finally, what's next for you? More media, more books, or something completely unexpected?
Oh my God, Brandy, I love that question. I was actually thinking to myself the other day, because I'm someone who's like, I make a goal and like I just go after it.
Yep.
And I'm like, what's next? Oh, I do have a next. I'm like, is this enough? Should I pause for now? Right. I go through these moments with me. So the book just came out in in May. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Black Therapist Guide to Private Practice and Entrepreneurship. It's doing well. So I want that to make a bestseller list. So we're hoping to
Yes.
continue to push that. I'll be at the NAACP convention in Charlotte talking about mental health and well-being in July. And my big goal is to be able to develop a TV show from this book. So I have some ideas that I'm working on and marinating, but the goal is to continue to help provide visibility for therapists and to really encourage this message about you therapists can do this too.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the perfect close for us today. Dr. Jackman, thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey, your wisdom, and your voice with us. Your work is a true reminder that branding isn't just about visibility, it's about vision, values, and that voice. Okay. So, for those that want to get connected with you, can they reach out? How can they learn more? How can they purchase the book?
Absolutely. So the book is available at most places books are sold. The publisher is W. Norton. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, the Norton website. And if you go to my page, my website, InnoPsych.com / private practice, you can get the book. Our directory, again, we mentioned that at the top, it's a free therapist of color directory. So if you're looking for a therapist, check us out there. Lots of resources there, also around therapy and how to engage with a therapist. And you can follow us on Instagram at InnoPsych. And for my personal page, I'm best on LinkedIn. So you can follow me, Dr. Charmain Jackman. But I hope that you stay connected And we love to engage with our audiences. And again, Brandi, thank you so much for opening the space for me to share a little bit about mental health and well-being and how that connects to branding.
Of course, of course. Well, I will certainly be sharing the link with a couple of my Black therapist friends and letting them know that these amazing tools that you've created are available. So, for everyone listening, make sure to check out Dr. Jackman's new book, The Black Therapist Guide to Private Practice and Entrepreneurship. It's an essential read whether you're in the wellness space or building your brand from the ground up. As always, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who really needs it. Until next time, keep building boldly and branding with purpose.